Welcome back, Royal Sussex Squad. If you're new here, where have you been? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, turn your notifications on, and don't forget to tap that super thanks if you're feeling the vibes, because over here we speak facts. We uplift Harry and Meghan, and we are not here for the royal media circus or their tired little smear campaigns. Now let's get into this nonsense that's been dragged out of the tabloid vaults again. Yes, we're talking about that so-called moment at Princess Eugenie's wedding in 2018, where Meghan supposedly rolled her eyes and told off Prince Harry. And of course, the usual suspects tried to twist it into a royal scandal, because apparently Meghan breathing, blinking or blinking while breathing is enough to send the British press into an absolute frenzy. So here's the setup. Harry and Meghan show up to Eugenie's wedding just 5 months after their own beautiful, groundbreaking, multicultural celebration that made royal history. And they're back at the same venue, St. George's Chapel. But this time, the vibe is different. The ceremony is more traditional, more muted, and, dare I say it, more like the old-school, stuffy royal events we're used to. That's not shade, it's just facts. Now picture this. Harry, ever observant, leans over to Meghan and comments that everything's different. Seems innocent enough, right? But the cameras, the lip readers, and the so-called body language experts were ready to pounce. Meghan responds with something along the lines of, yes, of course, that's the way. Maybe a little firm, maybe just direct, but definitely not dramatic. But oh no, here come the tabloids. Meghan scolds Harry. She rolls her eyes. She shuts him down in public. Please. You'd think she slapped his drink out of his hand the way they tell it. In reality, it was a normal couple moment. A short, quiet exchange during a formal ceremony. If anyone else did it, it'd be called marriage. But because it's Meghan, it's suddenly front-page drama. Then we had a body language expert who claimed Harry was acting like a child being told off. Really? This man is a decorated veteran, a father, a global philanthropist, and yet they keep trying to reduce him to a lost little boy every time he's not grinning like a mannequin for the cameras. It's insulting. And it's the same tired tactic they always use, strip Harry of his agency and paint Meghan as controlling. Now let's talk about that coat. Yes, y'all know what I mean. Meghan wore a loose-fitting Givenchy coat, and the rumor mill started spinning like a washing machine. People were like, is she hiding something? And boy, were they mad when the answer turned out to be, yes. Baby Archie was on the way, and the family was being quietly told during private conversations at the wedding. Emphasis on quietly. According to Harry himself in his memoir Spare, they chose that moment because the family was already gathered. It made sense. No big announcement, no mic drop in the middle of the vows, just private, respectful conversations with close family members. But of course the tabloids lost their minds. Meghan stole Eugenie's spotlight. She made the day about her. First of all, what spotlight are they talking about? Eugenie had 850 guests. A-list celebrities, an Aston Martin from a Bond movie, and Andrea Bocelli singing Ave Maria. That wedding was plenty iconic. There was no spotlight to steal. And let's be real, Eugenie and Harry are close, always have been. She's one of the few family members who actually seems to get it, who understands what it's like growing up under that microscope. She and Meghan have been seen together since, they've stayed in touch, and there's no bad blood. So this narrative that Meghan ruined Eugenie's wedding, completely made up. Just another example of how the press twists every single thing Meghan does into some kind of royal faux pas, even when it's done with kindness and care. But wait, there's more. Because apparently even entering through a side door is a scandal when it involves Harry and Meghan. They deliberately chose to come in quietly so they wouldn't draw attention. William and Kate actually followed behind them, but did that stop the headlines? Nope. It was still, Sussexes overshadow Eugenie. I mean, what do they want? Should Meghan have worn an invisibility cloak and floated in like a ghost? Here's the truth. Meghan couldn't have stolen that day, even if she tried. Because when you shine naturally, when your presence is magnetic, people are going to look. And that's not her fault. That's the problem of those who feel threatened by her light. Every time she shows up and just exists, the press panics. Because no matter what they do, Meghan still moves with grace, class, and quiet strength. She doesn't need to yell to be heard. She doesn't need to perform to be seen. Meanwhile, the royal press has nothing left but to analyze her eyebrows and try to decode eye darts like we're in some royal version of CSI. It's laughable. You know what they never talk about? The fact that Harry and Meghan delayed their royal tour to attend that wedding. They put in the effort. They showed respect. They didn't make a spectacle. They came. They smiled. They celebrated and they left. That's what real class looks like. And I want to talk directly to the folks who still cling to these fake controversies like a security blanket. Do better. We see through the agenda. We know what this is about. The royal establishment and the media couldn't handle Meghan from day one. Not because she did anything wrong, but because she represented everything they couldn't control. She was confident, independent, black, American, and let's not forget, beloved. She brought something fresh to the monarchy, and rather than embrace it, they tried to destroy it. But here's the plot twist. They failed. Harry and Meghan are thriving, living their lives, building their legacy, and raising beautiful, loved children in a healthy, supportive environment far away from all that noise. So the next time someone brings up this incident at Eugenie's wedding to try to shade Meghan, shut it down. Tell them to stop clinging to crumbs and look at the full picture. Because the truth is, Meghan handled that day with the same grace she always has. And the only people who had a problem with it are the ones who can't stand that no matter how hard they try, they can't break her spirit. And that, Royal Sussex Squad, is exactly why we ride for her. That's why we show up here every week, every day, to counter the foolishness with facts. Meghan doesn't need to clap back, because we do it for her. Moment Meghan Markle rolled her eyes and appeared to give the fidgeting Prince Harry a subtle telling off at Eugenie's wedding. When it comes to royal weddings, every detail, from the dress, the decorations, the service, the guest list, and the menu, is meticulously planned to ensure it goes off without a hitch. They are, after all, events of national importance, not a regular family affair. But the high-profile nature of the events often means greater scrutiny, which can understandably lead to stress. Prince Harry admitted in his memoir while drinking with friends on the eve of his wedding in April 2018, one of them commented he seemed a bit distracted, with him replying, "Yes, well, there's been a lot going on." He wasn't lying. In the lead-up to his and Meghan Markle's big day, there had been reports of numerous rows, ranging from disputes over the catering, a fight over the tiara, and an argument with the then Duchess of Cambridge Catherine over a bridesmaid dress that ended in tears. So when Harry and Meghan walked into the same venue they got married in, St. George's Chapel near Windsor Castle, 5 months later for his cousin Eugene's wedding, he noticed she had decided to do things differently. Although both were lavish celebrations, Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson's daughter had opted for a more traditional ceremony and invited 150 more guests than her older cousin. But while the Sussexes waited in the church for the ceremony to begin, Harry seemed to marvel at the differences. To the apparent annoyance of his wife footage from the event shows, Meghan seeming telling him off as he fidgeted and interrupted her as she chatted to Zara Tindall. She fired a few words back at him and briefly gesticulated before turning away from him to continue speaking with Zara. Lip readers' accounts of the conversation were inconclusive due to Harry turning his head to the side as he spoke to Meghan. At one point the couple appeared to be discussing the chapel as Harry said, "Everything's different," to which Meghan snapped back, "Yes, of course, that's the way." She then appeared to gesture with her hands at how full the venue was as she said, "Fill up as much." But body language expert Judy James noted their strained poses and facial expressions. She told Female at the time, "Harry appears to be anxious and fidgety when they sit in their choir seats, rocking about and fiddling with the tails of his jacket. Meghan looks calmer and politely sociable, chatting in a much more demure way to Zara in the seat in front. Harry starts to talk to her and she performs a subtle eye dart to her left, a bit like a mother whose kid is trying to interrupt her grown-up conversation. She turns to Harry and seems to have a slightly firmer conversation, raising her hands and then bringing them together and using a small head baton gesture for emphasis. Meghan leans back towards Zara, resuming her polite social smile along with their conversation. Harry rubs his face, chews his lips, and leans into the side of his seat like a child that has just been told to sit still. The apparent dressing down probably wasn't how Harry imagined the day to go, as he and Meghan had specifically postponed the departure of their royal tour to Australia to attend the ceremony. Although the prince has now fallen out with most of his family, he and Eugenie are still friends as they have always had a special relationship. Their connection is rooted not only in their shared experience as young royals and younger siblings finding their own path in life, but also as children of parents whose dirty laundry was aired in the press. Out of all the Queen's grandchildren, Harry and Eugenie have one of the most natural connections. Sussex-friendly authors Omid Scobie and Carolyn Duran wrote in their biography Finding Freedom. So of course Harry wanted to be there as she married Jack Brooksbank, the UK brand manager for Casamigos Tequila, a company founded by George Clooney. but Eugenie wanted a more formal affair than Harry, requesting men wear mourning coats to the nuptials on October 12th. In contrast, Harry and Meghan gave men the option of wearing a morning coat, military uniform, or a more casual lounge suit to their wedding at the same venue in May. Eugenie's ceremony was more muted than the Sussexes, with Zara Tindall telling Harry, "It's very quiet compared to the screaming at your wedding." The service was more traditional than Harry and Meghan's more multicultural gospel ceremony, with a greater focus on hymns and choral music. There was also opera star Andrea Bocelli's spine-tingling rendition of Ave Maria, but a reading by Princess Eugenie from The Great Gatsby was an unconventional touch, as was using abstract art on the back cover of the Order of Service. The guests included 850 royals, aristocrats, VIPs and friends, with the security operation to protect them costing taxpayers £2 million. However, the Queen and the Duke of York paid for the wedding from their own funds, the palace said. A-listers at the wedding included Naomi Campbell, Liv Tyler, Demi Moore, Robbie Williams, Ellie Goulding, James Blunt, and Kate Moss. And thousands of members of the public lined the streets of Windsor to catch a glimpse of the couple whose bridesmaids and page boys included Princess Charlotte and Prince George. Brooksbank drove his wife to the reception at Royal Lodge in an Aston Martin DB10, one of the 8 made for the 007 movie Spectre. It was reported at the time that Harry and Meghan were keen not to overshadow the biggest day of the couple's life, and instead of walking through the main entrance they entered via a side door followed by William and Kate. But it later emerged that the Sussexes were indeed happy to steal some of Eugenie's attention by sharing their own good news. They were pregnant with their first child, Archie, and though some were delighted to hear about the news, choosing to share the announcement at his cousin's wedding left some in the family a little disgruntled. The various gatherings connected to the wedding would give us a chance to pull aside family members one by one and tell them our good news, Harry wrote in his memoir Spare. They told Prince Charles shortly before Eugenie and Jack's drinks reception at Windsor while he was in his study. Charles was delighted to learn that he was going to be a grandfather for a 4th time, Harry wrote. The Duke and Duchess also informed Prince William later on, after the drinks reception, with Kate later congratulating them. The Queen and Prince Philip were also told in person at the wedding celebrations. However, the big news coming at the same time as Eugenie's and Jack's celebrations was not welcomed by everyone in the royal family. Many wondered why Meghan chose to reveal her news on the bride's big day, Tom Bower wrote in his book, Revenge, Meghan, Harry and the War Between the Windsors. Eugenie and her mother, Sarah Ferguson, were particularly displeased by the timing and were said to be furious. Meghan put her foot in it when she decided that it would be the ideal moment to announce that she and Harry were expecting their first child. This was a huge social gaffe, even if you were not a royal stealing the limelight from Eugenie, who was furious, as was her mother Sarah, wrote Dylan Howard and Andy Tillett in Royals at War, the untold story of Harry and Meghan's shocking split with the House of Windsor. Their appearance at the event caused the social media rumor mill to go into overdrive after Meghan wore a wide-fitting Givenchy coat to the service. Harry was spotted repeatedly rubbing her lower back. The couple made their official baby announcement to the public through official channels via Kensington Palace days later on October 15, 2018. But Harry and Meghan's dramas seemed to be a relatively minor episode in an otherwise hugely successful day. Even Fergie and Prince Philip put aside their differences and were pictured together for the first time in 26 years. Philip never forgave Fergie for the notorious occasion she was pictured having American financial advisor John Bryant suck her toes in 1992. She and Prince Andrew divorced in 1996, and despite now living together at the Grand Royal Lodge, they were not allowed to remarry because Philip forbade it. Despite the awkwardness of the family drama displayed around them, Eugenie and Jack always looked like the ultimate loved-up couple. Since their big day, they have had 2 sons, August, born on February 9, 2021, and Ernest, on May 30, 2023. And Eugenie seems to have forgiven Harry for upstaging her day by dropping the news of Meghan's pregnancy, as the cousins are still reportedly close. If you loved this episode, if you felt the truth in your bones, then make sure you hit that subscribe button, drop a comment, and let the world know you stand with Harry and Meghan. And if you want to support independent media that tells it like it is, go ahead and tap that super thanks button. Every contribution helps us keep fighting the good fight and pushing back against the smear machine. Until next time, stay loyal, stay loud, and stay Royal Sussex strong. We'll see you soon.